We're still awaiting the H1 numbers, so no sign of them. In the meantime, let's discuss some other stocks. We have Mayuresh Joshi who joins in now to track the fundamentals for us. Mayuresh, hi, afternoon. There's a big crack that we're seeing in telecom names today. What could be the reason for the incremental pressure, and how do you approach Bharti and Idea now?
Afternoon, Sonia. I think the perception that the markets are running now is that if the data plans of Reliance, whenever it is launched, that starts coming through, that will put incremental pressure in terms of their pricing plans. Now again, if you look at the trend, generally I think the data revenues probably per megabyte have started coming down slowly and steadily. They're probably getting offset by the kind of volumes that they're probably doing at this point of time. But again, I think with the expectations of Reliance Jio coming through and the launch expected to be very, very aggressive when it comes to data pricing, you might have some amount of jitters when it comes to the pack pricing on the data side. We've already seen softness and muted numbers probably on the voice part. So if I track the voice ARPMs, if you look at the voice MOUs, they're probably consolidated at this point of time. So I think it's those data revenues that are probably going to drive the incremental earnings for a whole host of telecom companies. Couple that up with the kind of net debt that has probably gone up. So take an instance Idea, I think the net debt to EBITDA is probably up from 1.5x to around 2.9x. And again, the added burden of additional spectrum coming up, that again has some amount of overhang in terms of how the earnings might pan out, specifically in terms of how cash flows can be thrown out. So again, I think all these factors probably are making these telecom stocks jittery at this point of time. Those numbers, in my opinion, will hold up both in terms of minutes of usage as well as EBITDA margins, both for Idea and Bharti this time around.
Okay, Ashwini, Idea Cellular below the 50, 100, 200-day moving average and closer to 52-week lows, while the market is closer to 52-week highs.
See, these stocks have underperformed, so they are utility stocks, so I'm not surprised they are moving like NTPC. So basically, Idea, you have supports near 90, 95. And on the upside, it's unable to cross 130, 135. The day it does that, then we open up levels of 180, 200. But till that time, I think it's a pretty sideways stock and one that is avoidable.
Okay, well, better to avoid Idea Cellular. Mr. Tulsian also joins in. Mr. Tulsian, the two-wheeler stocks have hit new highs today, 52-week highs, both Hero MotoCorp and Bajaj Auto. How are you positioned on these names now?
See, Sonia, if you really want to take a fundamental call, I don't think that there is any reason for them to stop to rise in isolation. Maybe, because then you have to take a call on the stocks like TVS Motor also, because ultimately the last data points which we have in front of us is the monthly sales figures for the month of June, and amongst all three, TVS Motor had the better performance. But actually, Hero Moto and Bajaj Auto both have seen on the positive list of the fund buying, and that has been seen for last couple of months. I won't be, in fact, if you take a call on the May sales numbers of both these companies, Hero Motor and Bajaj, they have not been seen so great in comparison to the TVS Motor. So the stocks are actually maybe on the hopes of the good monsoon scene coming in, with GST also getting implemented. Overall positive bias scene building up. The two-wheeler stocks are seen in focus, and they are seen as the big beneficiary of the monsoon, good monsoon scene across India. So that could only be attributed as the reason. But if you really take a range, they again correct by about maybe 100 rupees or so in case of Hero Moto, and in fact, for that matter, you can include the TVS Motor also. They have all been trading in a range, with a TVS Motor moving in a range of 15 rupees, Bajaj Auto, Hero Moto moving in a range of about 100, 120 rupees.
All right, Mr. Tulsian, we'll keep that in mind. Of course, that's TVS Motor 303. But companies have raised 8,000 crores through the IPO route in H1 of FY17. As the Indian IPO market heats up, we speak to Sanjay Sharma, the head of equity capital markets, on the road ahead from here on. He, of course, is from Deutsche Equities India. Sanjay, hi. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
One thing which stands out this year is that most IPOs have made money and have made good money for investors. What is going right? Is it pricing? Is it the quality of issues? Is it the fact that it's some niche companies coming into the market? I mean, how would you describe that?
I would say it's a combination of all this. One, of course, the size of the IPOs have not been large. So if you see in the last 2-3 years, the largest one has been Indigo, which was $400 million plus. Two is, given the market sentiment on the secondary market side, you are seeing a lot of retail investors also coming in. And given the fact that the institutional investor feedback is already taken into account while pricing the deals, and since the retail also comes in, all the three buckets being subscribed also helps in terms of the sentiment of the IPO. And you're right, I think in the last 2 years, if you see, most of the IPOs have done well post-listing as well.
Sanjay, hi, afternoon. We've noticed that there is a lot of interest in the IPOs in the financial space, whether it's Ujjivan, Equitas. We have a couple of new ones that are coming up who've got, whose DRHPs have been filed, whether it's RBL Bank, PNB Housing Finance. Do you see a lot of money to be made within this space?
Yes, and one of the reasons in that is if you look at any FI investment or a domestic mutual fund investment, a large portion of that is attributed to financial segment. And financial so far was not that diversified because you had banks, public sector, private sector, and some NBFCs. Now you are seeing other sectors being microfinance companies, insurance companies. We've seen ICICI also filing an offer document today. So that diversification actually helps these investors to actually allocate that money to the FIG sector as well.
Okay, so since you spoke about ICICI insurance, I mean, this is going to be a really big issue. Do you see some more in this sector, and how big is this going to become, the insurance as a sector, as far as the market is concerned?
I think it's early days. If you look at broadly in the public domain, ICICI was one, HDFC Life was the other, which has gone through the merger route, so that will automatically list as and when the requisite approvals are done. But beyond this, I don't see too much on the life insurance space coming in. Possibly,
but will this give some valuation metric for the secondary stocks where they have a lot of insurance exposure?
Yes, so as I was saying, diversification in the fixed sector happens. So far there was no benchmark available. Max was possibly the only first one which had pure insurance play, and now with HDFC coming in, it would have a meaningful size as well. And of course with ICICI coming in, you'll have proper benchmarks for investors to look at.
What are the other themes? How about something like healthcare? What kind of interest do you see there, and what are the launches looking like?
Again, without getting into specific names, but one theme which is coming across is diversification within the sectors.
Okay.
As I talked about FIG diversification, if you look at healthcare, apart from, I don't remember, apart from say Alchem, which was a pure pharmaceutical company listing, you have Path Labs coming in, you have smaller hospitals, specialized hospitals coming in. So that diversification theme is playing out in all the sectors. Even if you look at industrials, which is a very broad name, possibly including infrastructures and others. But there also you are seeing in IPOs like smaller logistics companies coming in, or green power coming in, or even if you look at Indigo is also a part of industrials. So diversification within a particular sector is playing out now.
Okay. Of course, Sanjay, merchant bankers deserve a lot of credit for pricing some of these issues fairly well, along with promoters. But we have seen good IPOs at good price. We have seen a couple of bad ones, but at a good price. Are we now going to move to good companies at bad price, and then finally bad companies at bad price?
This is an equilibrium. I hope that whatever equilibrium we have seen right now continues, but this is a pendulum. At points of time it will swing the one way, point of time other way. But I think the indications so far are that people have become reasonable. At the same time, I would not take undue credit on bankers being the ones who overpowerfully decide the pricing. It's a combination of everybody.
So what's the kind of money that we're looking at? I mean, in the first half of 2016, we've seen over 8,000 crores mopped up by IPOs, the highest in the last 6 years. Do you think that the second half will be better than the first half?
Without getting into this, just a couple of pointers. If you look at, my sense is this year we will see the largest amount raised in IPOs in the last 5-6 years, I would say. 2010 was the other large year. If you look at the number of deals which are either filed with SEBI or cleared by SEBI, that number is close to about $3.5 billion. Now, whether that gets completed in the next 6 months or it takes another 18 months is anybody's guess. But I would say that this year possibly we'll see the largest raised in IPOs.
Okay. Okay, Sanjay, we'll have to leave it at that. Thanks for joining us. We're awaiting some numbers as well, so we wouldn't want to get our discussion in the middle of that. Thanks so much for joining us. Well, the markets are absolutely flat now, so let's take a quick break. Our closing bell money control question of the day is on the macros, or rather the political situation currently. The Congress has softened its stance on GST. Do you see the bill getting passed in the session itself? Log on to moneycontrol.com, post your responses there, and we'll read out some of the most interesting ones post 3:30 p.m. today. Hi guys, welcome back to the show. Well, for now, the index has flattened out completely. In fact, the mid-cap index has moved into the red, so it's down about 0.2%. A lot of stocks are under pressure. So from the banks, you have Canara Bank, Allahabad Bank, Bank of India, Bank of Baroda, that are all down about 2 to 3.5%. Mr. Tulsian, I wanted your thoughts on some of these telecom stocks as well. The likes of Idea Cellular down about 5.5% now. How should an investor read into it?
See, Sonia, actually we have been talking on the volatility of these stocks, which we have been witnessing maybe for last 1 month or 45 days. If it corrects swiftly, then again, goes back or goes up by maybe couple of percentage, and again people start taking a positive call. But if you really see the scenario going forward, the kind of statements which we have seen from Sunil Mittal, where he has clearly said that the pressure on the revenue or maybe the margins of the company will continue. The kind of auctions, spectrum auctions of over 5 lakh crore, which we will be seeing maybe in the next couple of months, lined up by the government of India, and they alone 750 megahertz. So if you really see, already the balance sheets of all these telecom players are seeing leverage or stretch, and further leverage and stretch will come in the form of the huge payment of, even if the reserve price is accepted as the price, then further payment of 70,000-80,000 crore can come in this financial year. And recently the news yesterday or day before, we have seen that the data charges have been reduced by Idea and Airtel, both in view of the competition to be seen from Reliance Jio. Honestly, I'm unable to take a positive call, and I don't understand that why any fall, or once the stock is stabilizes, why people take a call as an investor. If you are a trader, keep swinging to this volatility, but otherwise I don't see any reason for these shares to even bounce back from here on. The weakness is likely to continue.
Okay, weakness is likely to continue. Let's move on and discuss our Monday special Midcap Mania with Nigel D'Souza, and here's an interesting stock today. Nigel?
Well, Anuj, the stock that I've picked today is Ultra Marine and Pigments. Now, the company is part of the Tirumala group, and if you take a look at it, the market capitalization is at around 400 crores. They have 20% stake in the listed company, Tirumala Chemicals, and that amounts to nearly around 70 crores. Just to take a look at the background, the company is into pigment as well as surfactant manufacturing. What is pigments? Pigments are used basically for some of these paints, plastics, rubber, as well as building industries, while surfactants, they are used as detergents as well as other products. They also provide IT services, so that's a smaller part of their business. The promoters in the recent past have been hiking their stake from around 47% all the way to around 52%. That's always a good thing when the promoter is doing that. And if you take a look at their sales numbers as well, it's moved from around 140 crores all the way to around 220 crores. So the growth as well has been quite good. If you take a look at the last year, it's been quite good. So this year is going to be a test. On the top line, there's been a growth of around 28%. We have the laundry as well as allied products business. That's done well. And the surfactants business, really, that's given you big growth of close to around 49%. I went through the audit report, and they said that they've hyped up their better capacity utilization, focusing on working capital as well. That's why things are looking quite good. Also, if you take a look at it, the IT-enabled business, that continues to grow by around 8%. And normally, if you have too much diversification, you'll see one of the businesses really will be a drag on margins. That hasn't happened, so that is a bit of a positive actually, because operating profit has gone up. We see margins as well steady, and individual businesses as well, we see the margins have expanded by around 100 to around 150 basis points. Profitability has jumped up in the last year. It's backed by other income though. So the total profitability they did last year is 27 crores. So if you take it on a trailing basis, then maybe it appears a tad bit expensive. They're also paying good dividend, and that's been increasing in the recent past, paying between around 30 to around 50% of dividend payout ratio. Finally, a few challenges that they'll be faced with. They're getting competition from unorganized sector. We also have shrinking demand for some of those businesses, and some of their raw material requirement is imported. So currency movement really won't help them around. Volatility in crude prices as well could hit their inventory. So watch out for this stock, a rather interesting one coming from the Tirumala group. Interesting stock.
Okay, Nigel, thanks a lot for that. The market has moved to the low point of the day, by the way. 85.27 is what we have on the index. Of course, ID and Bharati are down, but ONGC is down about 4% now. Mr. Hussain, your reaction on this royalty news? In the morning it was expected that the bigger hit would be for Oil India and a minor hit for ONGC. But as we speak, ONGC is down 4%.
See, Anuj, again for ONGC also we have discussed, 3 or 4 days back when that kerosene subsidy, the price increase expected from July to March 2017, 25% increase, and at that time we have said that this will be seen positive. And at that time also I have stated that you cannot take a positive call on ONGC in spite of we have seen the huge burden of the petrol and diesel under recovery going away. So, both the companies will remain a victim of the adjustments to be made by the government on account of this. If you see these companies making profit, at that time also I have stated that don't surprise to see the royalty getting increased. And at that time I have given an example also. If for some reason crude goes to $60, you don't have under recovery, you will find the royalty or the cess getting increased on the crude. So these both the companies are seem to be the milking cow or adjustment for the government, whether it is whether UPA government or NDA, and that's a very I would say that not a rational move on part of the government unless until they come out with a clarity. But you just cannot suggest and give the suggestions to the government. So in the current situation, it is better that we remain away. And at that time also I have given that probably 210 to 240 is seen as a range. If you are a trader, look to buy closer to 210. If you are want to exit, look to sell at around 240.
Okay, so more pressure coming in on ONGC. Also, HUL has now moved to the lowest point of trade. It's down about 1.5% ahead of its numbers. There's some trepidation that we're seeing in HUL, so that stock should be up for you. There you have it, 1.5% lower now. Those are Arrow Granite's numbers, looking good. 5 crore profit versus 1.5 crores year on year. But some stocks are also spiking up in the broader markets. Names like Jindal Stainless, Hisar is up almost 20% now, and a couple of others like HCL Infosystems, Lakshmi Vilas Bank also doing quite well. By the way, look at that Arrow Granite Industries, 10% higher now on that stock, spiking up on the back of a good jump in its profitability. On that note, let's get Sandeep Vagle into the discussion as well. Sandeep, hi, afternoon. What are the stocks that you're picking up at this point?
Afternoon, Sonia. I would go with a buy in a Apollo Tyre, stop loss 157, target 166. Buy in a Bajaj Auto, stop loss 2700, target 2850, and a sell in ONGC, stop loss 228, target 213.
Okay, thanks a lot, Sandeep, for those trading ideas. Yes, ONGC is now really taking it on the chin and is seeing quite a bit of decline. The other pocket seeing decline is actually the PSU banks, led by Canara Bank. That's down about 3% right now. And a couple of others like Allahabad Bank also trading at low point, Bank of Baroda as well. So, Roshan, PSU banks, anything that stands out for you?
I think PSU banks are, if you see, they had a vertical rally. That rally is probably coming to an end, and a deep correction could be in the beginning, could be starting. So, most of these banks, perhaps in a day or two, will become short selling opportunities.
Okay, so short selling opportunities coming in there. By the way, Arrow Granite's income also has gone up to about 67 crores versus 60 crores year on year. So that's a mid-cap stock that has caught everyone's fancy right now, 12.5%, 13% higher on the back of good numbers coming in. But Sudarshan, I wanted your thoughts on some of these two-wheeler names, the likes of Bajaj Auto, which is the biggest nifty gainer now, and you also have Hero MotoCorp that's been surging to new highs. Any fresh trades that you would initiate there?
Well, luckily both of them were in my buy ideas at morning and 11 11 a.m. So the idea is to go long in both these stocks. Now today, as we speak, what's happening, Sonia, is that the Nifty itself is at the low point of the day, a little weakening. So for today, it's best to avoid buying any Nifty stock. But I think tomorrow again, day after tomorrow, both stocks should be bought into.
Okay, both stocks should be bought into. Sonia, just slightly off topic, since we're talking about Aero Granite, which is up 15%. This was when I was in 10th or 11th standard, and I was doing a research on some of these companies. This was one of the first companies which took advantage of the 1991 liberalization and set up an export house and started exporting tiles. So it's a very old company and one of the oldest listed companies that we have on the exchanges, and good numbers right now. So the stock is up 14% this one.
Oh yes, it is. In fact, it would be interesting to see. I haven't seen the history of the chart, so it would be interesting to see like a 2-year chart. That's a 12-month chart. It's up about 20-odd%. So it hasn't really given too much returns in 12 months.
Lost its way in between this company, I think between 2000 to 2010s, but making a bit of a comeback. Mr. Hussain, you have a thought on Aero Granite?
See, Anuj, you have reminded of this one, at that time I don't remember the policy, but Tamil Nadu was seen to be the largest producer. If you go to the Tirumala temple, even today you find the steps are all of the rough granite, and at that time the Tamil Nadu government, I would say that foolishly taken a view that they stopped the raw granite block exports, and that time the gang saw and the diamond cutting tools and all that installed by many of these granite makers have all gone into the dump, and there may be very few company. Just to give a background, even Atul Nishar of Hexa, where he tried to put the gang saw and the granite processing plant and all that. That was a flavor, those used to be the days aquaculture, granite processing plants. So you are right that those were the days of I don't remember exactly, but maybe somewhere in the year 88 to 91, those were the time. But the government policies have really killed this industry. But coming on Aero Granites, in fact, two results which I am keeping an eye today. One is on Aero Granite and second is on Bharat Bijli. Honestly, if you really ask me, I don't expect any kind of positive reaction to be seen into the share price from the results of from the Mindtree or maybe Exide Industries or maybe HUL or maybe for that matter Tire Rolls, which again will be posting huge losses. So I'm keeping an eye on Aero Granite and Bharat Bijli, and both are likely to post good numbers. We have already seen good numbers from Aero Granite. I'm keeping a watch on Bharat Bijli. So I'm just keeping a watch on these two stocks, and I don't have any calls on the rest of the results which we will be seeing today.
Okay, that's some news coming in. Idea has slashed the rates of 4G, 3G big internet packs by up to 67%.
I think this is Friday's news. I think that's why actually the stocks are reacting today anyway, because this news had come. I recall that, or maybe it's extension of that news. Some part of that had come.
Actually, earlier on Friday, what came in was in the below 1 GB data packs there was a cut, but now even in the main 4G, 3G, the big internet packs also, the rates have been cut by up to 67%. The 10 GB data pack has been cut to just 990 and 5 GB at just 649. So it's great for users, but it's a big negative for these companies.
It's big negative, but the bigger news was the sub 1 GB, because that is where the bulk of the usage accounts for. So of course there's a lot of competition going on, and of course we'll have whenever we have the full launch of Jio, that's of course going to be the next big trigger for some of these companies on the positive or on the negative side. But for now, clearly Friday's news and today's news put together means that telecom stocks are seeing quite a bit of decline at this point in time. That's Idea now down about 6% right now. But let's move on and discuss some more stocks, because the Bank Nifty has also moved to the low point of the day, as has the mid cap index. So a lot of these stocks have seen intraday decline, and right on top of that list actually is HDFC. Sudarshan, chartically HDFC, would you buy it? It's made new 52-week high today, but from that point it slipped down quite a bit.
Well, I would buy it, but I just explained that today may not be a good day to buy anything, simply because we are going through an intraday correction. But HDFC is an outperformer and is likely to remain so. So, if you see a correction for a few days, investors or position traders should consider buying it.
Okay, all right, let's do one thing. We have about half an hour more to go and we still have no news from HUL. So we're going to take a short break and come back with more. When we come back, we'll also try and get you a check on the mood across the dealing room. Stay with us.
still counting down to HUL numbers. This is normally they come out by now, but that's onward text numbers. Okay, not a big stock, but let's move on. Ashwani, BTST ideas.
See, first of all, I think market will close at the lows of the day. So tomorrow, if we bounce back from those levels, you're probably setting up a buy trade for tomorrow. So even if you buy today by the close, you should be able to make money tomorrow itself, because the market will attempt one more pullback. As far as calls right now are concerned, Indocount is a sell with a stop of 875, target of 830. Canara Bank is a sell with a stop of 253, target of 238. And CSC is a buy with a stop of 590, target of 625.
Okay, so there are some trades coming in for as closing strategies, but at this point in time, the stocks that are at most, on our radar is the telecom names. So Idea Cellular is now down almost 6.5%. As we told you, Idea has slashed further its rates on 4G and 3G internet packs for both postpaid and prepaid users. There's an additional cut of 67% on these rates. Mayuresh, we were talking about the Idea stock, and you did mention how you would avoid these telecom players, but any numbers, any ballpark math on how much it could impact the revenues for a company like Idea now that they have slashed rates on even the bigger packs, 4G and 3G internet packs?
Need to work that out, Sonia, but I think if you go by the core dynamics that they've done, and as I mentioned earlier, I think if you look at the per megabyte data realizations, that has been coming down steadily. So the last quarter itself, it was close to 22.9 paise per megabyte. And look at the realizations that they've done a few quarters before. So clearly, I think you're seeing some pressure come through, and with these cuts, I think you're still expected to see data realization go down in a substantial manner for the remainder part of this fiscal. Having said that, probably, as I was mentioning earlier as well, I think the voice realizations are not improving, and the voice ARPUs and the voice ARPMs are probably languishing at lower levels and are expected to do so. Now, any competition with a bundled voice plus data package, I think is going to be a very disruptive sign for the industry. So I think the net debt to EBITDA, as I was mentioning, I think will go up substantially, as Mr. Tulsian was also pointing out, with additional spectrum payout, and that will have an additional burden in terms of their earnings per share. So I'm not expecting recovery probably to happening in terms of the earnings probably after the remainder part of this fiscal and the next as well.
Okay, Parag Thakkar also joins in, by the way. Parag, you want to comment on this? I mean, with RelJio's impending launch, these players, incumbent players, have gotten very aggressive in slashing rates, etc. Do you think this, for investors, this sector has to move to the back burner?
No, I think, during the crisis, actually the bottoms are made. So, and I always follow that logic and buy into the problems in good companies. So, like I was telling about pharma a few weeks ago, I think telecom will soon make a bottom, and very interesting bottom. So, for example, Idea goes to 95, 96. I think that will offer a good contra opportunity. Investors.
Okay, let's do one thing. Let's address the sector of the moment. Idea is down 6% right now. Rima will tell us the impact of this news. Of course, on Friday we had that sachet pack data price cut, and now we have for bigger packs as well. Rima?
Yes, Anuj. So first on Friday, what had come out is that your sachet packs, which is sub 1 GB of the total data volume, those prices were cut by 45%. Today's news is that Idea has gone ahead and cut your big internet packs, which is between 2 GB as well as 10 GB, by up to 67%. So the big, what they're playing on is the fact that, one, you want to lower it ahead of Jio and try and capture the market share. However, you've seen Airtel already cut it down by up to 60% across most of the data packs. So both the incumbents have moved ahead of RelJio's impending launch, which is expected to be in September as well as October, and try and capture the market share. But secondly, I think the reason why the stocks are down is because the telecom operators are hoping that with a cut in price, effective price, the volumes will pick up. But if you see the data volume trend for telecom companies in the last few quarters, it's been steadily coming down, and that's been one of the big problems for the, one of the big reasons why telecom stocks have underperformed. So just to give you an example, Idea's data volume growth was more than 100%, say about 5 or 6 quarters back. This came down to 50% on a year-on-year basis. This is data volumes in Q4 of FY16. So which basically means data volume growth has been moderating. So even if you cut down your data realizations, it's not necessary that the data volumes are going to go up, concomitantly by the same amount. So there is a risk that the actual data revenues come down. That is the big fear in the market. But of course, the other way to look at it is that anyway data prices would have eventually come down with Jio coming in. So instead of doing it perhaps reactively, they've just gone ahead and done it proactively. But for now, what it means is that data revenues for telcos could come down.
Okay, Rima, you take care of your health as well. That's the update on telecom stocks. Idea down about 6% right now. But ONGC is now moved to low point of the day, down 5%. A lot of stocks moving to low point of the day. The mid-cap index is down about 0.5% as we speak. Look at that sharp intraday decline that you're seeing. Let's pull out a couple of names. Some of these high beta names are correcting now, led by JP Group stocks. So JP Power is down just in the last 10 minutes of trade about 3.5%. Lanco Infratech, the stocks are still in the green but way off the high point of the day. Reliance Communications intraday chart, Adani Power's intraday chart, HTIL's intraday chart to tell you. And Reliance as well has moved to the low point of the day. So that stock also seeking lower levels. Ashwini, a word on Reliance's chart?
I think Reliance is also an underperformer. I mean, it has been sideways between this 950 and 1050 for a while. Unless we can break out of this 1050, 1070, I think it will remain sideways. I can't see, good results or bad results moving it in either direction. So possibly still an ignore on Reliance. Oil marketing is the group which is in a bull market. I don't think oil exploration is in any kind of bull market.
Okay, gentlemen, just stay on because we have an analyst as well who joins in to track Idea Cellular. Remember, Idea Cellular, the volumes have now picked up to 1 crore shares compared to 50 lakhs, which is generally the 10-day average. So the volumes are very high on the downside. Nitin Soni of Fitch Ratings joins us on the line from Singapore to talk about that. Nitin, hi, good afternoon. What did you make of this? Idea has gone ahead and slashed its rates on 4G and 3G big internet packs by quite a bit, 67%. What kind of impact do you think it would have on its financials?
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show. So Fitch Ratings, we have already a negative outlook on the sector, and we believe that the data prices are going to fall by at least 15 to 20% in the next 12 months or so, as Reliance Jio launches its infrastructure and its network. This is also a beginning where basically, now they are providing more data services at a predetermined fixed price. But going forward, we anticipate that data prices realization would decline further as, ahead of the launch by Jio.
Okay, Nitin, hi, good afternoon. So do you expect some of the larger players to also follow suit and cut rates?
Definitely. I think Bharti, including Bharti, Idea and Vodafone, all three would join in reducing data tariffs. I think Bharti has already announced that they would be offering around 50 to 60% more data traffic on a similar pricing. So we would expect that, as Jio launch date is closer, all these telcos would definitely try to retain their subscriber market share and will give more data to their existing subscribers.
So what does this do to data volumes? Because those in any case have been falling, whether the price cuts have come or not. Do you expect volumes to continue to dwindle?
No, the data volume is growing significantly well. If you look at the last 18 to 24 months, the picture has been that the voice ARPU is falling, while the data ARPU has been rising considerably. And that is basically holding on to the overall revenue per user and not impacting the financials as of today. But going forward, when the data tariff will fall by 20%, the growth will not be able to offset that kind of a price decline, and that will be the point when the financials will start getting impacted of the incumbents.
All right, Nitin, thanks a lot for your time today. So that's Fitch Ratings saying that yes, there is going to be quite a bit of pressure on pricing, especially on the data front as we move closer to the Jio's launch. But let's get an insight into dealing room chatter. Then Nimesh is here with Trader Talk. Nimesh, it slipped a bit from the high point. What's been the feedback?
Well, the feedback that I'm getting is the kind of support that we are getting from the FIs in the last few days, that seems to be missing in today's trade. So the volumes are on the tepid side. The DIs continue to be net sellers. That trend continues in today's trade as well. So I guess today's number, probably the DI sell will outnumber the FI buying, which is not been the case for the last many days. So that's been in terms of flows. Broadly, the sense I'm getting is there is some bit of caution out there. The IT earnings have not been so great to start with, and there is a huge expectation in terms of earnings in this quarter. So that's something to watch out for. Even the monsoon session that started today, that's something will be very closely monitored, because it looks like the GST to some extent is priced in. So the two major factors for the markets to rally from here would be GST and earnings. If they don't support, probably the sense I'm getting is that 8500, 8550 seems to be a near-term top for the market. So that's something which has been talked about. But as I said, in terms of flows, it's largely the fact that the larger FI buying seems to be elusive into this trade, which is probably putting pressure because of the fact that the DIs continue to be net sellers. So it's looked like a one-way trade in trade today, no support from the FIs. But the fact is the key to this market for an upside would be the passage of GST and the fact that the earnings has to be very strong, has been what has been already priced in at these levels.
Okay, thanks Nimesh for giving us a check on what's happening in the dealing rooms. We have been speaking with our guest, Parag Thakkar is also with us. Parag, what do you do with the stock like Infosys now? It's recovered 1% today. At this 1080 price, would you buy in, or do you think you can get better levels through the course of the next couple of months?
So from an institutional client perspective, I would say that this is a good value zone for Infosys, between 980 to 1080 kind of thing, because and of course the Q2 is expected to be much better. So I think this is a good value zone from institutional perspective. From a retail investor perspective, I would say that the IT has become a value bias. This is not a huge growth opportunity. Because although the valuations are relatively quite comfortable compared to other parts of the market, and cash flows are very good, managements are absolutely clean, dividend payouts are very good, but the point is that the growth is missing. And so we did one chat with Accenture head, and he said that all these digital contracts are coming in small pieces, and the size of the deals are getting reduced, and that is why the predictability has come into problem. So you cannot now expect every IT company to predict everything on dot, and that's why some sort of PE multiple downgrade has happened. But I would say that definitely if you want to buy a large quantity from an institutional perspective, definitely you cannot get it at one particular price. So you have to buy on dips. So that way I would say that it's a value buy.
Okay, it's a value buy, 1082 now on Infosys. But well, the stock that's dragging the market now is actually Reliance. Intraday chart of Reliance should come up for you, and that is now down about close to 3 or 4% intraday. So 1004 is what we have on Reliance now, and a couple of other names like Hindalco and Tata Steel also looking a bit weak. Tata Steel in fact down about 2%. Ashwini, at what point will you buy some of these metal names?
So it's going to take a while. I mean, till they at least come down by about 10 to 15%, that sort of correction. I don't think Tata Steel is a great buy now. It's had almost a 50-point rally non-stop. So the entire market just needs to correct. There are very few buying ideas right now. Everything that's worth buying is very, very expensive, and everything that's going down like ONGC, Reliance, etc. are probably not worth trading. So strong stocks really need to correct, probably 10% plus before they become worthwhile to buy.
Okay, so some correction perhaps is impending. Apart from Tata Steel and Reliance, Bank of Baroda is also coming under pressure now. That stock has moved to the lowest point of trade, down almost about 1.5%. Well, this is just routine, right, Anuj? I mean, it's still just a fall of 30 points that we're seeing on the Nifty after such a big surge. So some profit taking cannot be ruled out.
Yeah, I think it's just that, Sonia. I think the boundaries are clearly defined. 8350 to 8400 was the zone where the market saw some bit of resistance, so that's where support should lie. I think today's FI number would be key. My sense is you'll still see a large buy number, because it's that kind of a phase. When you start to see this kind of buying, it normally doesn't stop just after 2 or 3 days. So you will still see that. The curious thing today though has been that Infosys has actually bounced back while the rest of the market has taken a backseat. And I think Reliance's reaction to the earnings also is something that the market is telling you that maybe at higher levels market needs more than just beating the headline numbers, and that's something that could be impacting the market as well. Some more news on screen, Sonia?
First Source and Sky UK announced some strategic pact, a 10-year strategic pact. So that stock is in the news, up almost about 2.5%. Look at that sudden bounce coming in over there. But Varinder is also waiting by to give us some buzzing stocks that he has observed. Varinder, take it away.
Well, the new names are still, moving up. Look at some of the names like Gujarat Intrucks. That stock is moving up. Govind Rubber, Pix Transmissions, Mahalakshmi Ruptech, Hippolin, IVP Limited, all the new names are moving up today. Some of the small cap gainers like Bedmutha, Jindal Stainless Hisar, huge volumes today on this stock. Asher Agro, Sankhya Info, Jindal Poly Investment, Mangalam Timbers, I think that stock was up 15% on Friday, gaining nearly over 10% today as well. Kanpur Plastipax, bonus issue now, the stock is up. Jindal Cortex, DPSC, MB Industries, Rajratan Wires, Jiscol Alloys, RDB Industries, RA Drugs, most ship industries up to the results coming in. Sachita Metals, Refrigerators, Steel Exchange India, Auto Line, Chemfab, Udaipur Cement, Oil Country, Garware Poly, all are moving up anywhere between 5 to 20%. Some mid-cap gainers, HCL, Infosys, that stock is moving up. Lakshmi Vilas Bank, good numbers, reported the stock is up. And Motilal Oswal on a new high today as well.
All right, Varinder, thanks a lot for that. Well, one of the stocks for the last few minutes has been Aerogranite. Sunil Arora, MD of Aerogranite, now joins us on the